ML stayed with us for 6 months, insulted me, almost destroyed my marriage. Now she wants to see my baby. So, this is a long one, but I need advice. 2 years ago, my MIL came to stay with us. Initially, we thought it would be for a couple of months, but it dragged on for almost 6 months. I'm an introvert, and when I'm overwhelmed with work or life, I need to be alone to recharge. My ML knew this was how I regulated myself, but instead of respecting it, she made it all about herself. For context, she has 2 sons, my husband, from a relationship when she was 17, and his younger brother, from a different man when she was 25. She's been married 5 times and has had countless relationships. Every time life doesn't go her way, she emotionally abuses her sons, then apologizes and pretends nothing happened. Classic toxic cycle. Anyway, while staying with us, she started complaining about me to my husband because I would take time to be alone. He explained to her that this was just how I handled stress. I never disrespected her, but she took it to the next level, insulting me, calling me self-absorbed, the devil, and all sorts of things that made my blood boil. She almost destroyed my marriage. And then, to top it off, she expected me to apologize to her. No, I'm not her son, and I will not back down for simply setting boundaries and needing space. I put up with this for nearly 6 months while providing her a place to stay. And when she finally left, she had the audacity to say, "Thank God I'm out of this hell house." Imagine saying that about a place that sheltered you for half a year. That was it for me. I blocked her on all social media and her phone number. But of course, she messaged my husband asking why I did that. Thankfully, my husband has always been on my side. Fast forward to now. I gave birth a few months ago to our first child, her first grandchild. And now, suddenly, she wants to come see the baby. I haven't seen or spoken to her since that nasty incident, and honestly, I haven't forgiven or forgotten. The thing is, I'm not someone who can just pretend nothing happened. I'm the type of person whose face shows exactly how I feel. I can't fake it. So if she comes, I know I won't be able to act like everything's fine. So what do I do? Am I wrong for wanting to keep my distance? Should I let her meet the baby or stick to my boundaries? Would love to hear from anyone who's dealt with something similar. Edit. I appreciate everyone who took the time to respond. Your insights and experiences have given me clarity and reassurance. Setting boundaries isn't easy, but my priority is protecting my child and creating a healthy environment. Thank you for the support, advice, and reality checks. I truly appreciate it. ML lied about TDP to see newborn. StepMIL had previously told me that she and BioFIL had TDP 6 years ago when my first was born, so they're all set for new baby. Anyway, as I prepared for my newborn, I told them we want anyone who is going to hold baby to have an updated TDP in last 3 years and flu shot per our pediatrician. If they don't get shots, they can visit, but no holding baby or only masked. I kept asking FL if they'd gotten them, and he kept saying soon. Anyway, baby was born, and they said they wanted to come visit next week. I asked if they ever got the shots, and FIL said that pharmacists said they're up to date on TDP, and I reminded them no, our pediatrician said a booster is needed. Then MIL jumped in and said that they actually got updated TDP last year for another grandchild's arrival. She said it in a weird way, and I sensed she was lying. So when they reached out again to confirm visit plans, I asked for proof of vaccination. MIL then changed her story and said FIL never got a new TDP last year since he had one for my first child 6 years ago, and it's still good, but she got one last year. So she lied and would have put my newborn at risk just so FIL could avoid a shot and hold baby. I'm livid. What should I do? ML refuses to stop touching my baby's face, even when told not to. We visit ML and husband's family. Basically every 5 minutes, she's touching my daughter's face, almost petting her like she would a dog with the most annoying baby talk. My daughter is at the stage of putting everything in her mouth, and as ML is holding her, she's making no effort to stop baby from putting ML's hands in her mouth. Gross. Anyways, husband politely says something along the lines of, "Can you please just not put your hands on her face," and moves her hand to the side. Instant dramatics. She curses off my husband and storms out of the room. Fast forward, we get home, and he gets a text from her. "I need you to apologize to me today. You hurt my feelings." He says, "This is my baby and this is my small ask. It's not too difficult and we're just trying to protect her." She proceeds to say, "I'm the grandma, not just anyone, and therefore I'm allowed to touch her face. The entitlement is wild. I haven't gotten involved, but you bet I will if this continues. It just sucks because I now feel like I can't even leave my baby in the same room with her without me, or she'll go against our wishes. In-laws cut me off. As if I ever relied on them. My husband and I have a baby under one. I invited the in-laws over for a few days, and ML tried to convince my husband to divorce me because I spent an hour with my baby alone instead of putting him on display in the living room. When I heard her say this, I kicked them out of our home. Now I'm cut off, and apparently if I don't allow them to visit with my baby without me present, then I'm using him as a pawn. LMAO, the nerve of this spoiled woman. By the way, she called my husband her husband by accident. ML sent an email detailing how I am nasty. I've been married for 28 amazing years. There has been many occasions of disturbing behavior from Mil that I have gotten over. Mostly in-laws refusing to be grandparents. One incident stands out the best to provide insight. We have 4 children. My kids at the time were 15, 13, 9, 7. We had never been away on vacation, and then the in-laws generously volunteered to watch the children. The year before, we had asked them to help as we wanted to go on a humanitarian trip. My brother was going to take the biggest chunk of time, but they said no. So we were quite pleasantly surprised that they encouraged us to book this vacation. 3 days into the trip, we get a phone call from our distraught daughter saying grandma is leaving. We assure her that was not happening. But she explained that all her bedding was at the door. My husband calls, and sure enough, the in-laws had work to do at their house 30 minutes away, and my children would be fine on their own. My husband says absolutely not, you agreed to watch them. They accused us of overreacting. Long story short, FIL came over after work and grandma never returned. Fast forward many years. They send an email detailing how I am a nasty person going back to firstborn and how I had unreasonable requests. I was 22 and truly didn't, I just had sleep training stuff I wanted adhered to. They said they were not comfortable at our house and listed dozens of incidents of why they don't like me. The number one being my kids never wanted to leave my side. Well, grandma was quite comfortable yelling at them, so yeah. I was devastated. Silly me thinking I gave them grace all those years that we had a decent relationship. After some therapy, mostly for my husband, I am able to be free from them. But it's hard on my husband. They seem fine not having me their life. They speak to my husband once a month and it's never come up. My daughter is getting married in September. I have to invite them to the wedding. I can be the bigger person, but I'm worried it will cast a shadow over the day. Emile finally said it. I see people talk about their mills saying this crap all the time. Never have I ever thought mine would say it. I was talking to my SIL about how I accidentally poked my baby in the eye because she was telling me about times she accidentally hurt her kids, and here comes Mil. Is your mom a mean lady? Oh, if she hurts you, you just come see your nana. Don't you stay with that evil woman. I almost lost it. Then later that day, when my baby, for MO, was cooing a lot, she was like, don't you tell your mom our secrets, SHHH. I thought that was so weird. Made me so uncomfortable. It just needed to rant a bit. We rarely see her, so it doesn't matter, just annoys me. Is she a fairy tale witch? Hello. A few months ago, my wife used this account to post about my mother expecting us to adopt an Asian baby. There are a bone-chilling number more stories where that one came from. The story. A few years back, I was preparing to fly out and visit my then-girlfriend, now wife's family for the first time. I was nervous, both because I hadn't been to that part of the country before and because I was between jobs at the time. One night, maybe 2 days before my flight, I was on Discord playing D&D with some friends. Suddenly, my mother calls. I excuse myself from the party to answer. My mother states that she has gotten some expired baked goods for cheap from a supermarket in another county and wants to know if I want any. I say maybe later. Right now I'm a bit busy, but thank you. It won't take a minute, she says. I'm turning into your driveway. I know I'm in for a bad time when she doorsteps me like that. I open the door with great trepidation. She hands me a random grab bag of 5 pastry things you'd find at a grocery store. Only one of them is anything I like. They are all expired. So what's your plan for meeting your girlfriend's parents? I didn't know what she meant, and I asked her, you don't have a job. How are you going to convince them you're all right? I say that my girlfriend had already explained that situation to them, and they were quite understanding, but I had been concerned and was planning to highlight my degrees and the promise of the jobs I was hoping to get. That's a start. but you need to have something more definite. Do you have any interviews before you go? No, I hadn't. That's not good enough. She's a real catch and her parents know it. How are they going to be all right with her dating someone who doesn't even have a job? My state of unemployment was a very sore spot for me, and we both knew it. When she gets like this, I often go into a kind of fugue state. She continued, "You'll look like a bum to them without a job. Don't you think she's worth keeping? You need to be making at least 6 figures if you want them to accept you." Here I pause to point out that one. She has never met my in-laws. 2. Neither she nor my father ever made that kind of money. And 3. All my degrees are in humanities and every job I've had in my adult life has been in education, so I'm never going to see 6 figures unless the school district decided to pay me in pesos. We returned to her rant already in progress. How are they going to accept you like this? You're going to lose her if her parents think you're just some bum. Here I rallied and pointed out we're both in our 30s and neither of us date who we do because of parental approval, actually. Yeah, but she likes her family, right? Sooner or later, they'll start telling her you're no good, and she'll start to listen. You have got to have a plan. You have got to have something to offer her. Just being you is not good enough. I finally had enough at that. I spat that I knew and good night and started to close the door. She thrust the expired baked goods through the door and insisted I take them. I did, so she wouldn't keep banging on the door or calling as she had so many times before. The baked goods are a form of payment, you see, so that I have to stand there and take that. If I don't accept payment, I'm not in her debt, so she can't treat me as she likes. Anyway, I wasn't feeling great, but I got back on Discord. My friends asked what was up, and I told them. There were many shouts of horror, but one has stuck with me. Is she a fairy tale witch? I asked what he meant. All this stuff she gave you was expired, right? She just showed up at your door late at night, hucked poison at your head, and cursed you and your love life. Classic wicked witch shit. Which, I suppose my friend has a point. It's certainly true that, when my in-laws showed me Tangled for the first time, I felt sick at the villain song Mother Knows Best, and my wife knew exactly why. But there's the happy ending. My wife's kind of my Finn rider, and her cat's definitely the horse. Am I ignoring safe practices with baby? I wonder if this woman suffers from amnesia. No matter how many times we tell her about safe practices with our baby, she keeps doing her own crap. We even show her videos of babies getting tangled in blankets. Nope, she will put a stupid little towel on my baby that doesn't even do anything to help his sleep. She will cover him loosely with a blanket and put a pillow on his legs and his pram bassinet, then suggest we leave him by himself. I've also said many times that I will not let the baby cry it out, but every day she suggests I leave him. Nor will I stop holding him, not to spoil him. Not to mention so much awful advice every day. Baby is getting older and doesn't need to sleep much anymore. He was 3 weeks old, lol. You have to get him used to warmth. No, I will not keep my newborn in a 28C room. At least I know there's no way I can leave my baby with her. She proved that she doesn't give a shit about what we want for our baby. Am I wrong to feel like it's disrespectful? It's like she thinks the rules we have are stupid and don't need to be regarded at all. End of my rope. Worst possible thing happened. Thinking about packing up and leaving at the moment. Feeling extremely upset with myself and angry. I was working on growing a spine and standing up for myself in therapy the past few weeks, and clearly I have failed. I was enjoying my day with my LO. I heard 2 knocks at my back door. I wasn't expecting anyone and checked my cameras. It was MIL and SIL. I remained in one room and tried to keep LO quiet. Hoping they would leave, I went out of the room after 2 knocks. I shouldn't have, but I knew it had been 2 months since she has seen LO, and the visit wasn't going away, so might as well get it over with. I don't like having husband's family over without him. I never have before. Read all my previous posts. They asked to come in. They have brought things. I said okay. She bombards me with things right away. I was extremely uncomfortable standing there in my comfy clothes, without a bra. Used kid clothes, food. I said, oh, that is way too nice, thank you. Then they asked to hold LO and take photos. I comply. Then I start talking about things to hurry the visit up and calm myself. Then she brings up, she doesn't have my phone number and would like it, for days like today where husband doesn't answer and she wants to come over. I hold back tears. I gave it. She then says I need to send weekly photos as she has a friend who has grandchildren on the other side of the world and her friend sees more photos. I hold back more tears, just wanting them to leave. Oh, how I wish I would be stronger and tell them to go. She started talking about how at the used clothing store she saw toys she wanted to get LO for her house, I think. I held back more tears. My child will never go there. Also on the way out the door, she noticed I put my professional photos of my LO. She said she only received one photo from the shoot. She also said while saying goodbye to LO, I know mommy probably doesn't want to see me every day, but I want to see you every day. And made a point that my own mom who lives down the road probably gets to see LO every day. She doesn't, maybe once a week. Because of this interaction today, I have feared this would happen for many, many times. I was backed against a wall, without my husband. I shouldn't have came out of the room. I should have kept hiding. I now have thoughts to pack bags tonight and leave. My husband needs to deal with this. I'm done. I am embarrassed and sad for myself, with how weak I am. As I sit here typing this, crying with how uncomfortable I feel. Induction had to be scheduled on her birthday. Currently 39W plus 6 days. Labor starting and stopping for the past week, and I'm so over it at this point. So I go into my appointment today and was told to expect a call from the coordinator. Coordinator called as I was wolfing down some lunch and, of course, without thinking, I agreed to the first available induction slot. I then asked if that's the absolute soonest we could go in and get everything taken care of, and the coordinator said that yes, that's the soonest available. Hung up the phone and went about my business until I look at the calendar and see that the induction date is actually the date of my Emil's birthday. This lady is insane, and I cannot imagine having to live the rest of her life hearing how much her and LO are just that much closer because they are birthday twins. If that even ever happens. Pray for me. ETA. Everyone suggesting to reschedule. Yes, I will, but my OB's office does in fact come to a close, and has been closed since well before I realized the date/issue described here. Also, to remind everyone very gently, I don't want the advice to reschedule as per the flare which asked for no advice. Just solidarity. No contact with my Emil for almost 2 years. This is the place for me, I think. My Emil has always been a pill, but she took the cake a few years back. She went to HS with my dad and have quite a few mutual friends. Their HS group is oddly familiar, and they don't have like 5-year reunions or 10-year. They have them like every year. That summer my Emil was hosting. My dad didn't go for whatever reason, and my Emil used this opportunity to talk a ton of crap about me. I'm not my husband's first wife, and we have no bio kids together. His previous wife lost custody of their son due to drugs and alcohol and hasn't held a job down in 10 years, yet my Emil treats us as if we are equals. She has no respect for me. She won't take her shoes off in my house. She routinely came late to holidays or birthday parties. She would have these secret powwows with my husband at their house to get him to try and change decisions we had already made. She acts like she is the third spouse in our marriage. So after the high school reunion get-together, one of their classmates called my dad and said, "Hey, Emil was talking super nastily about your daughter," and had a bunch of specific examples of things she'd only know if this were to be true. My dad told me, and I then told my husband, who then confronted my Emil, who straight up doubled down and said, "I did not." That was almost 2 years ago. My husband has asked her repeatedly to apologize, but she will not. My in-laws have not been to our house since, have not spent a holiday with us since, but now are inquiring about whether or not they will be invited to my oldest child's graduation party. And the answer is still no. Emil said I disrespected her after asking her to wash her hands before handling 8-week-old baby. It's all stated on the title. Emil came to visit. For context, she lives 1 minute away. I asked her to wash her hands first before handing her the baby. Further, I asked her to drape baby's shawl on herself before placing the baby on her shoulder. She went on to tell DH later that she felt disrespected and that I treated her like a child. When does it just stop? Emil wants to watch my daughter. I've posted in here several times about my Emil. I've had several issues of boundary crossing with her and my 2-year-old daughter, and her husband, my husband's stepfather, is super creepy and left an inappropriate comment on a FB picture of my daughter that caused me to block him from my social media and determined that my daughter will never be left alone with him. I decided Emil will never be left alone with my daughter either after she put her in the bed with her as a newborn when she watched her overnight, even after I told her how I practiced safe sleep and was terrified of SIDS. Anyways, they live 5.5 hours away from us, and they're coming to visit this weekend. We usually see them every 2 to 3 months, so not super often. ML called my husband yesterday and asked if they can get to our house Thursday night instead of Friday and watch my daughter on Friday instead of sending her to daycare. ML knows I won't leave my daughter alone with them and always asks things like this when she knows I'll be at work and she'd have my daughter to herself. This isn't the first time she's asked, but it's the first time in a while. My husband told her that he'd have to talk to me about it because he knew I'd say no. He told me that he was going to call her back and tell her no, but tell her that she needed to talk to me in the future since I was the one that had a problem with it, and he didn't want to get in the middle of it. I told him it was quite literally his job to get in the middle of it because it was his mother, not mine. I told my mom about this, and she said I should just let them watch her since they don't get to see her much. I feel bad because I know my MIL does love my daughter, but I truly do not trust her or her husband to be alone with my daughter, and I will never compromise my daughter's safety to spare feelings. Also, my daughter doesn't really know them well since we only see them a handful of times throughout the year, and I think she'd be upset if I left her with them all day. Not to mention the fact that they don't know the first thing about taking care of her and have done several unsafe things with her that I've had to put a stop to even when I was sitting in the room with them. Am I overreacting? I don't want to hinder MIL's bonding time with my daughter, but I don't see why she can only bond if she's alone with her. It just feels off to me. Standing up to MIL. I read the post from that lady who has a problem being pushed around by her MIL. Well, I guess that's a ton of posts, but it angered me. I have never had an issue standing up for myself. I learned at 12 that nobody will advocate for me like me. My mother was my first bully, and by 15, I had the shit at a standstill. Shit if I can stand up to my own mom. Someone else's was a breeze. First husband was a mama's boy. She was sweet as pie until husband wasn't at her disposal anymore. Then she wasn't. LOL. It didn't take but a couple years of hearing, my mom said, and the final straw of her calling me after him, and I argued to ask my why I was upsetting her son. I told her, let me explain something to you. Your son is 35 years old. The last time I checked, he was a grown man, so don't call me asking me about my business because there are two people in this marriage and neither one of them is you. She backed off then, but she returned. My daughter's 4th birthday. I had it all planned out. Outfits, venue, you name it. She shows up to our house a couple hours before we're supposed to leave for the party with a party dress that she did not ask could she buy and insisted my child wear this dress. I said no, we already have her outfit. In fact, she picked it out. She protested and my husband said, it's just the dress. Can't we let her wear the dress my mom bought? She really went through a lot of trouble. I told him right in front of her, absolutely not. If your mother wanted to buy a dress for my daughter, she should have called me and asked, and then I could have let her take our child, and our child could have picked out the dress, and she could have bought that one. Do not show up to my house with something that you want her to wear and expect it to be done. This is my child, and the decision is not yours. There were maybe 1 or 2 more instances where I had to get her together, but I did it because I learned way too early that people do what you allow them to. What are you ladies so afraid of when you stand up to these women? They're not going to whoop your ass. And if they try, put her in jail if they touch you, but most of the time it's not going to go that far. People pick on people who they think are weaker than them, and if you let them pick on you, and if you're weak, it will continue to happen. And if you have a husband that is enabling this behavior or not checking it properly, get away too. Bullies pick on easy targets. In most cases, you can't depend on your husband to protect you and advocate for you. Way too many men have a hard time standing up to their mother. The easiest thing to do is to not marry a mama's boy, but if you can't avoid it or it doesn't get bad until after marriage, then please by all means do not be afraid to speak up. I always ask myself when I'm getting ready to be outgoing in some way, what is the worst that can happen? And if I'm okay with those consequences, then I proceed. I hope any lady that reads this it is helpful to in their situation. Ada, I use talk to text, so it's reading just how I talk, LOL. I know my grammar and sentence structure is shot to hell, but I think my spelling is pretty good, so I can live with the rest. What's awesome is the message is visible and I love every interaction I've received. I'm pretty introverted now, and this engagement is doing wonders for me. Thank you all. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share, and we will see you in the next video.